Well, thank you. We're always excited to go to Dallas and play the neutral site game against a great Texas A&M team, and have so much respect for Coach Fisher and what he's doing down there, and they have a lot of talent. And we know it's going to be a huge challenge for us, but we're excited to go down there and play the game.
For questions for Coach, press 10, and we'll begin with Chip Howard of KZNE.
Yeah, Coach, A&M has had some problems sustaining drives and scoring in the red zone. What have you seen as you look at the offense, and especially now with the quarterback change?
Well, they have a very physical offensive line. They have great skill on the outside, and with Max Johnson in there, he runs the offense well. He can also run, with his feet. They're still running reads, plays with him, and very accurate with the ball. They have an elite running back, and more than one, but certainly an elite wide receiver in Smith, and they have several. So I'm sure that Coach is working on whatever problems they may have. I don't see a whole lot of them. But I see a really great opponent that we're getting ready to play.
They've been really good in special teams. What do you see when you look at that, and how important will that be Saturday?
Anytime you have a squad full of really good athletes, which they do, you should be good on special teams as long as you have the returners. And in my opinion, they have as good a kickoff returner in A-Chain and certainly a punt returner in Smith as there is in the country. And they've got an entire team of wonderful athletes. So that's where your recruiting really shows up, I think, is in special teams, and they've done an outstanding job.
Thanks, Coach.
Next we have Tom Murphy of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette.
I'm wondering the role that your linebackers will need to play in this game, kind of like how critical is what the linebackers are going to do for you in this game, and how deep do you feel like you can get to? Do you think a Jordan Cook might be able to go in this game?
Well, he hadn't gone in much in the first three games, so I don't know that it would be a whole lot different this week than what it was the three previous games. But I mean, our linebackers have to play well. We got a big challenge of covering him back out of the backfield when he goes out there when we're in man coverage because he's so fast and so elusive. But we're going to do what we do, and hopefully we can put some pressure on Johnson, and also we've got to stop the run because Coach Fisher's going to try to run the football. That's who he is, and he's got good people to do it. So our linebackers are key for us in stopping the run.
And then when you look at this portion of your schedule coming up, A&M, Bama, Mississippi State, BYU, that's a pretty tough run. And I know you've done a real good job at keeping it game by game, but in terms of maybe increased difficulty, what's your take on what's right ahead of you?
Well, to be honest with you, I've said it many times, you don't look at a schedule as a schedule. You just look at it as the next week, and we've got to win this game, and that's really what we're concerned with, to be perfectly honest with you.
Next we'll go to Mike Griffith of AJC Dog Nation.
Hey, Coach, congratulations on the win Saturday. I want to ask you about neutral site games. And, Kirby's talked about Georgia giving up a home game to play Florida down in Jacksonville. I noticed last year you guys only had 3 home games in the SEC. I mean, do you feel that when you have one less home game in the SEC, and maybe it's different because of Dallas, but how would you compare that to the Jacksonville situation?
Yeah, I don't want to speak for Kirby, because he certainly does a great job of that himself. But, I like neutral games. The problem is last year I believe we had a 5-game stretch where 3 of them were at home. We were the home team, but one of them was in Dallas and the other in Little Rock. So you're sitting there in recruiting, and you have 3 of the next 5 games as home games, but yet you only have one that you can recruit at. I think we really have to look into that. I don't know how Jimbo feels about it, but we have to really look into that, especially when we're not allowed to give tickets to recruits when you're not the home team. So, but let's say this, as far as the atmosphere, having 2 equal number of fan bases, it's incredible. And being in Dallas Cowboy Stadium is incredible. Our kids really enjoy that and all those things. But there are some disadvantages as well, and mainly the biggest part of that is you're on the road when you have a home game, which means you're not home. And we certainly felt that last year in what I just spoke about.
Next we'll go to Steve Moulton, WZZN.
Coach, appreciate the time here this morning. Certainly hope you're doing well. I know I've asked you in the past about Drew Sanders, but I cannot help but want to further ask about Drew and what he has brought, not only from on the field, but from a leadership standpoint. And how well does he work with Bumper Pool as well for you there, Coach?
Well, they're always together off the field as well as on the field, but they're always together. I think they're really good friends, respect each other, both have really good work ethics, both great kids. Drew certainly has done a great job of putting pressure on quarterbacks, along with running down people, along with handling his responsibility in the box. He's not a real talkative guy. He just goes out and does his business, but I can assure you that everybody on the team respects him to the highest of respect, and certainly coaching staff as well.
With the challenges that you had on Saturday, Coach, how much do you kind of go through that tape with the players and show them the corrections, or is that kind of a flush and move on to the next opponent?
No, we didn't flush it. I can promise you that. We've got some areas that we have to fix, and to put it in a nutshell, we have to cover better, we have to tackle better, and we have to hold on to the football. And I don't care who you're playing. If you can't, they had over 200 yards of yak yards after we should have got them on the ground. Now you have to credit their players as well, but we have to tackle better, we have to cover better, and we have to hang on to the football. And if you have 3 more turnovers than your opponent, you have about 11% chance to win the game, and that's about what it felt like last Saturday. So we have to improve in that, but that's just in a nutshell, and that's football, and that's fundamentals. And no, we certainly didn't flush it. We addressed it at the highest level that you can, and because we have to get it fixed.
Thank you, Coach.
Next is Bob Holt, the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette.
Hey, Sam, how you doing?
Good.
Hey, I don't know if it was like this when you were at OU, but I think I've read the Big 12 allows Texas and OU, whoever's the home team that year, they get to, have recruits that give tickets to them and just like if they were at an on-campus game. Has that been discussed at all in the SEC? That might be a way to keep the Georgia-Florida game in Jacksonville. I don't know if that could help you guys in 2024 when still playing Arlington.
I think it's that. I still think it's the home team. Bob can give tickets. You just can't. You can't talk to them during the game. But the home team can give the tickets. From what my understanding was that Florida or Georgia was trying to get tickets for their recruits as well, even if they weren't the home team. And so the bottom line is you really can't recruit. They even if you're the home team, you can give the tickets, but you can't talk to the recruits. So, the only way to fix it is if both teams had the tickets. But until they change that you could talk to kids on the road like that, then you're certainly losing that. You're gaining it for the fans. I think the fans enjoy that game. We certainly do as well, but it basically boils down to recruiting.
Oh, okay, so you guys can give tickets to recruits. You just can't interact with them.
You can if you're the home team, yes, sir.
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks.
That's all of your time today, Coach. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'm very proud of our team. Thought we competed incredibly hard, incredibly physical in the game against Miami, which is a very, very good football team. Coming off some adversity of not playing well the week before as we could have, but also, again, great credit to App State in that. Don't mean any disregard to that. But at the same time, we know filled up, lined up, played a very good football team, played physical, did the things we had to do. All three phases got better. I think offensively we moved the ball much better, blocked, had some really nice opening drives of both halves. Could have finished a couple drives, got stuck at the 40 there a couple times, but some things we can get ironed out defensively. Did very well. Did great in the point then things. Played well. Still giving up some long drives a little bit. We got to make sure we're getting off the field a little bit, but overall played really hard, physical. Good football game, and had some great adversity with some young players. We lost, not only, again, we had some suspensions on offense and defense before the game, and guys stepped up, and then had injuries and had some targeting calls that other young players had to step up and had to play. Bryce Anderson jumps out at me for one for sure that went out and played an outstanding game. There's others. There were a lot of guys that really played a lot of quality minutes that had never had and played very well, and shows you we're practicing well and guys are preparing to play, not waiting to play. Took advantage of opportunities. Special teams were excellent. I got a turnover on a punt, which is very critical in the game. Our punter was outstanding in the game. His hang time, ability not to have returns. They only started outside their own 25 one time in the drive. They were inside their own 10 three different times. And he down punts down there, and the chain was a big part of that too. We talked about a chain on offense, who I thought was outstanding. Played really good in what he did. But his effect on special teams, downing punts, getting down, being blocked, all those things shows what kind of quality young man he is too. So I think we got better there. Bond committed, had a nice field goal. Cade's kickoffs were really good. We had the one muff, but we luckily got back on it and, played a very tough game. Now we got to get better. We're far from perfect in any phase of what we're doing. We've got to continue to, practice hard, play well each week and get better and better. I think we've had good practices so far this week, Monday and Tuesday. I've been very pleased with our practices. Our guys have showed great energy and great focus. And we're going to play a very good Arkansas team who Sam Pittman's done a great job with those guys. Again, I have a lot of respect for Sam as an individual coach and as a head coach. I think he does a great job. I really like Sam, again, consider him a friend and a really good guy and a really good coach. Their coach, both Will Browell, does a great job on offense, and they do a phenomenal job on defense. Their packages are different, 4 down, 3 down. The addition of the new players on defense, I think, of really McLaughlin and Drew Sanders and those guys on defense have really, and the front guys have really made a difference. Drew can rush, he can play, plays everywhere. Him, Bumper Pool, man, they lead that defense and tackles and play everywhere. The secondary, as I say, they're getting guys healthy and getting back on the field. There's a lot of starters that were out, so they'll be even stronger than they have been on film. Special teams, very sound. Scott Fountain does a phenomenal job there. Barry on defense and Scott on special teams. So they're a well-coached team. They're a top 10 team for a reason, and we're going to have to play one heck of a football game to have a chance. Questions?
We'll begin with Tom Murphy of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette.
Hey, Jimbo, I think you just about covered everything right there. But given what do you think the magnitude of this game is, given what's ahead of both of these teams? How big is this game for you?
Well, I think they're all big. It's your first conference game, and you want to get off to a good start in your own conference. Now, it's not their first conference game. It's their second. I think that's very critical. But for us, and I think, it is because it's a hard road to hoe and everything. That SEC West is tough, and each week you have to play and what you have to play, and it's another critical game. But then it's one game. And that's what it is, but it's a very important game because it's the next one, and it does. You'd rather be on the top side of it than the bottom. I promise, with what's coming.
And you touched on Bumper Pool and Drew Sanders a moment ago, but just overall, how big of a responsibility you see those linebackers having in what this Barry Odom scheme is?
Well, I mean, it is. Barry does a great job, man. He's tweaked a lot of little things, little turns and things, and utilizing his people different. I mean, the scheme is the foundation of it the same. But Barry knows how to use his people, and he moves them around and gets them in things. And have a lot of respect for Barry as a coach. I mean, he does a great job, and he puts some not a lot of pressure, but he puts those guys in position to make a lot of plays, and they do.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Next is Bob Holt, the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette.
Hey, Jim, how you doing? You mentioned McLaughlin there a minute ago. What is it? He's had a couple picks, played pretty good cover for this season. What have you seen from him on film? I guess what impresses you about him as a cornerback?
My thing is first his instincts. He's very instinctive. He's long. He's athletic. He has really good ball skills. He can see the ball, judge the ball, uses his length and size to get up on you and man you. And went to bed. For a big guy, plays off coverage very well, like the first pick he had in the Cincinnati game when Cincinnati was driving down early in that game on about the 20-yard line, and he stepped in front from off coverage. A lot of guys are big and long, have a harder time playing off. He doesn't. And I just think he's done a real nice job.
And then, Sam mentioned you guys are friends, and you just mentioned it. I don't think y'all have ever worked together. How'd you guys become friends, and just kind of how would you describe the relationship?
Well, I mean, when we see each other, very cordial. I mean, I had great respect for him from afar as a coach. Talking to him different times in his career over whether it's scheme or, different times and, asking his opinion on coaches' job, you know what I mean? And then inter meetings and things we've had. I just think I've recruiting, been out on recruiting. You spend hours together and just really get a good feel for a guy. I think he's a genuinely good person, good guy, who's a good coach. And, we seem to hit it off and really enjoy being around each other.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next is Mike Griffith of AJC Dog Nation.
Hey, Coach, congratulations. I know they're all big wins, but that was a performance. I want to ask you about game location and neutral sites, and maybe you could put this in perspective. You were at Auburn with that undefeated team in '93. They played Bama at home. I think that was only the second time they brought it to campus. We've heard Kirby talk about Jacksonville. Jacksonville population, I think, is 40th. Birmingham's 50th. Dallas-Fort Worth Metro is 4th. Is this different to be at this neutral site? Is this worth giving up the home game, home recruiting weekend for, or is this something that those SEC home recruiting weekends are just extremely valuable?
They are, and now I want to give up the away weekend, not the home weekend. I said that the other day in my show on the press conference. We'll give up this game. We'll go to Arkansas. We won't stay in Dallas. No, I mean, but no, it's unique. I mean, and there's not many of them left, and I'm, there's not a better place to play in Kyle Field, and I'm sure Sam's gonna say not a better place to play when they play in Arkansas. I mean, it's not that, but it is a different dynamic, and I think some of the rules get changed in recruiting. It's okay, but it's definitely going to be changed. Now, I'm a historian of the game. I like history and I like tradition, but change is inevitable. Change is always going to happen, and I understand why. Like I remember, like you say, it was the second time when I was at Auburn and we ever played Alabama at home. First was '89, which they said was unbelievable. But I'm going to tell you what, I didn't see '89, but '93 was incredible. When we were undefeated, it was the environment, the atmosphere. I mean, there's people crying. I know '89 was they said was unbelievable, but everybody was crying. There was a few crying in '93, but I mean, it does make a difference to get some of those things when you're at home like that. And I'm torn at times. I like going to Dallas. It's a great area. It's a great recruiting area, and it's good for our guys. I think sometimes too, being a neutral site game feel like maybe what a bowl game, a playoff game, or potential, in the future if you're in them can be. But there's gives and takes to both, but that's a decision other people will make. I know I'm saying 6 one way, half dozen the other, but I kind of like both.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is A.P. Stedham of WHEP.
Good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
Coach, how has the quarterback from Arkansas, Jefferson, been a better player this year?
I think every key moment of big games, he seems to make the play. And sometimes we get caught up in wanting to see numbers, how a guy changes. As a coach, I don't always judge him by that. Numbers can come and go based off situations and circumstances, based off how a game goes or your offense is or whatever happens. But those moments, in big moments where you have to be the guy, like getting the ball at the end of the game, in basketball, or it's like having that last at bat in the 9th inning in baseball or whatever, those big moments when momentum has to occur, changes have to occur, the consistency in which he plays within it, and the ability to make those plays in those critical moments. And of course, he's a great runner, he's a thrower, he's got all those things. But you see maturity and experience.
What about Jaden Hazelwood as a wide receiver? What have you seen from him joining the program this year?
I tell you what, he's very diverse. I know they're trying to do a lot of things with him like Burks, and they do a lot of. He has that ability. He can beat you deep. He's physical. He's long. He got hands to play underneath. And then all the different motions and different things they can do with him. And he's just a really, really good football. It wouldn't be surprising to me if he could go be a heck of a defensive back. You know what I mean? One of those guys that can play on both sides of the ball and just has ball skills, tough. I mean, just a really good football player.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Coach, we'll finish you up with Steve Malta, WZZN.
Appreciate the time here this morning, Coach. If I heard you right at the beginning, when you were talking, you pointed out the effort that you saw out of your team against Miami. Was comparing the two, App State to Miami, was that a pure effort deal or more execution?
More execution, and just the toughness and effort to play all the way through. It was a great effort in that game. I don't know, there was no lack of effort. But I think we played very hard all the way through and made more critical plays at critical times in the game in which we had to do, and our execution was better at those critical times.
And you've talked a lot about the Arkansas defense. Tell me where you've seen improvements on your defense this year, Coach.
Well, we're playing a lot of young guys. I think we're getting better up front. Multiple guys played, multiple things that are going on, and I think we're playing very solid defense right now. We're playing good, hard, tough-nosed defense.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
That's going to wrap you up, Coach. Thank you.
Thank you.